join us, we'll begin. I think we have a Boy Scout in the audience. I have been advised that the gentleman in the green T-shirt, are you a Boy Scout? Yes. If you'll come forward and lead us in the pledge, don't feel picked upon. This is what our standard practice is. You all stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd come to the microphone and introduce yourself. The other side.
I'm Ben Miller. I am a scout in Troop 985, and I'm here to listen to the council meeting for citizenship in the community.
Well, welcome to the council meeting. You've got three Boy Scouts up here behind the podium. Councilmember Orleans and Councilmember Depolito are Life Scouts, and I was fortunate enough to have my father beat me until I became an Eagle. So welcome. Happy you may take a seat.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
To approve.
Is there a second? Motion by Councilmember Wynn, second by Councilmember Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. First on the agenda is the acceptance of money. So do we have the Friends of Roswell Parks here? Jay Small, come forward. And Betty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Jay Small, President of the Friends of the Roswell Parks, along here with Betty Prescott, who is our current president, re-elected president of the Roswell Ramblers. And we are excited to be here today to fulfill a promise that was made to the city in partnership with the city by the Ramblers to help fund the therapeutic whirlpool. And we have this check that we will be presenting, but before I do that, I'd like to give Ms. Prescott an opportunity to just make a brief statement.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's very exciting for me to be here, and this is a project that I've worked on and I'm excited about working on. And I have done a little bit of research and kept up with some records to let you know where this money from this project has come from. We started supporting the therapy pool prior to the bond referendum. When members visited aquatic centers to observe the way they're run, a committee was formed to support the fitness center and the aquatic center. After the therapy pool project was placed in the bond referendum package, members campaigned throughout the city and at the Roswell Arts Festival, Alive After 5, thank you, the Youth Day Parade. We were out encouraging voters at the polling places the day of the election in the rain to remind them that they needed to vote. After the bond referendum passed, numerous articles were written in the Rambler Quarterly newsletter to encourage support of the project. Fundraising to support the amenities began. Fundraising project included, number one, a mass mailing for the Walkway to Wellness project. Pennies for the pool. We started small. The bridge tournaments where we did food, breakfast, and lunch for a duplicate bridge tournament that's been held at our center. I think we're up to about 4, that the money from those tournaments have gone to this project. Ticket sales for George Ensemble Theater. A craft bazaar was held. Concession stands at different venues. The Walkway to Wellness, which has generated a considerable amount of money, which is part of this. One dime at a time, and what's active right now, we are a 16-ounce water bottle holds $93 in dimes, in case y'all need to know. We have another little project we started in July called Splish Splash for Cash. This little jar is sitting in this building, so when y'all come by, we'll take whatever. We know that more than little dimes fits in here, so we'll just be aware that that is on site here. Waves to Wellness, which is a larger project to for donations towards helping fund the amenities for the pool, is getting kicked off. And we have many future events planned. Since May 2013, $10,000 was raised by the Ramblers from different fundraising efforts on site at the center. Rambler participation. The number of volunteers as of July 2015, 183. Some are repeats and volunteered for many events. And we have given 1,238 volunteer hours in projects for this, our Whirlpool effort. So those are some facts that I just wanted to share with you and let you know we're still working, but I'm just real excited to be able to be here tonight. And
Eddie,
thank you.
Thank you for your efforts and for efforts of all the Roswell Ramblers and the Friends of the Park. From time to time, Kay says when we're trying to raise money, she will just have to go out and sell some, have a bake sale. But she makes a joke of this, but y'all make a real campaign of it, and you're successful. And on behalf of this council and the citizens of Roswell, thank you for your efforts and keep it up. We have a great senior center over there because of all the active seniors, and you epitomize those, and thank you for your efforts. Let's have a hand for Betty and the Roswell Ramblers.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Wynn wants a photo op. So if you
Yeah, it is a good photo op, and we have
if you'll
Mary
hold up,
and
we'll join you.
everybody want to take a picture. And also, what Betty forgot to mention was that a check also fits in that 16-ounce bottle if you don't have dimes.
That's right. Yeah, you can fold up. They roll up real nice.
So ends the fun stuff. Now we'll call upon Morgan Rogers, are you here tonight? If you'll present the Recreation and Parks agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here tonight to ask for the approval of the City Hall Art Program to display artwork of local artists. The City Hall Art Program is being developed to enhance the attractiveness of Roswell City Hall. The program is scheduled to begin in October in conjunction with National Arts and Humanities Month. The program will consist of artwork displays in City Hall by groups that are affiliated with the City of Roswell, such as the Roswell Photographic Society, the Roswell Fine Arts Alliance, and the Recreation and Parks Department artist instructors. We have identified 48 spaces to display artwork on the ground, first, second, and room 220. Each group will display their artwork for 3 months. The first group will be the Roswell Photographic Society. We have identified current funds in the current operating budget of the Recreation and Parks Department to implement this program. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about this particular public art program.
Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Rogers, I really like this idea. I think it would be a great addition to City Hall. A couple questions for you. First of all, on the stairs, you show an opportunity for sculpture, but are we going to have room on those stairs?
Under the stairs, there's
Under the stairs.
Under the stairs, right behind the little benches, we can bring in. We've got a couple of stands that you can put artwork on with the acrylic cover, so we can do that in 2 locations there in the rotunda, if there are sculptures as from one of the groups.
Okay.
With the Roswell Photographic Society in the first one, there won't be any sculptures, but we anticipate some of those from the Roswell Fine Arts Alliance.
Okay. And then my second question is, who is going to select the artwork to be displayed?
It'll be the groups themselves. We will meet with the staff. Will meet with the groups and decide on a theme, and then first example is the Roswell Photographic Society. They are using the theme of best of the best. So they're going to take all their winners from the last 10 years of their local competition, and they're going to invite those folks to display their artwork. So it'll be the individual art groups that will be deciding what the artwork is. The good thing about working with these groups is they already know what the requirements are, and that make sure that there's no offensive artwork or artwork that has the potential to be offensive to anyone that will be placed. So it will be up to the groups themselves.
So initially, it will just be these 3 groups, is that correct?
Right. It will be the first year we've got it planned out as the Roswell Photographic Society, then the Roswell Fine Arts Alliance, and then the artists from our programs at our 3 art centers, and then the last one will be the high school art show that we do in conjunction with the North Fulton High Schools.
Okay. Is there going to be any involvement by the Roswell Arts Commission?
Not at this time. We've had conversations with them, but since we're using these groups, there's really they didn't express a need to be involved with this, other than coming to the receptions and being supportive.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad we're doing this, Mr. Rogers. I think this is a great thing to do. And I like your green tie, go Roswell. But I do have a question on the first floor. Because I know usually when we have temporary artwork or art displays, we have more of them in the rotunda area. Mm-hmm. And are y'all looking at not putting any more around the rotunda area like we do when we do some types of displays?
Yeah, there's going to be artwork on all 3 of the floors, the ground floor, the first floor, and the second floor.
But usually I think we had more on the first floor than what we have here.
Right.
Is there a reason why we're not putting more on the first?
Well, we could put more if the individual groups call for more, but this is actually wall space. It's not necessarily in the rotunda or on the ground like we do. We'll still have, traveling exhibits, like maybe in conjunction with our Root celebration or something like that will use the standing racks, the movable racks.
So this would be in conjunction with what we...
Right, in conjunction and in addition to that.
Okay, so this is in conjunction with that. Okay, then that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Orleans.
Mr. Murray, I think this is a great idea. I had one question for you. Since we all know you are an accomplished author, I was just wondering if you are also an artist and if you're going to have anything displayed from your works.
No, sir.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Councilman Orleans, second by Councilmember Wynn. Anyone in the audience have any questions? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Okay.
We'll call the second item.
Yes, sir. This is the approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a change order for the McKellen Construction to add a kitchenette and a folding service table through the oil mill machine shop project in amount not to exceed $13,771, and approval of BA 3506000-08-10-2015 in the amount of $13,771. The renovation of the oil machine shop is progressing nicely. We anticipate the completion of this project in early fall. The Recreation Commission is working through the details on how to best utilize this space. We're requesting tonight that the addition of a kitchenette-type space and a folding service table be added to the project. The kitchenette space will provide running water, a small ice maker, and a small counter storage space. The folding table will allow for readily available space to be used during events that will fold away when not in use. The funds funds for this project have been identified in the system-wide parks improvement budget. I'll answer any questions you may have about this particular project.
What did we ever decide to do with the stairs that go to the second floor or the top floor?
We have, as part of the project, they put up a wooden wall, and the steps are behind the wall, so they're still there. They're just hidden from view from the public. So there hadn't been a decision as to exactly what's going to happen with them. But they had to put up a wall to protect them from falling in the open.
To close that space off, but
Yes.
So that's still unresolved.
Still unresolved, yes, sir.
Council, any other questions? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilman Orland, second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time, we'll call upon liaison to the Public Safety Department, Councilmember Jerry Lawrence.
The only item on the agenda tonight is the second reading, the approval of an amendment to delete section 13.1.1B14, use of profane language in Code of Ordinances. And Chief Grant is here to answer any questions.
This will be deleting specifically the sentence to use profane or obscene language in public from this ordinance. I think you're all familiar with it, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Halsey, are you recommending this?
Yes, sir. Legal is recommending this due to decisions by the federal courts.
So because of decisions of the federal courts, the current ordinance is unenforceable?
Yes, sir.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll need to read it.
Oh, read it, please.
Ordinance to repeal section 13.1.1B14, use of profane language considered to be disorderly conduct of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell. The remainder of the ordinance is incorporated herein.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
Motion by Councilmember Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
For the record, Councilmember Eichelhart is absent with an excuse. At this time, we'll call upon liaison to the Community Development Department, Councilmember Becky Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we have tonight is approval of a resolution to adopt a short-term work program and the capital improvement element covering the 5-year period 2015 to 2020, and Mr. Townsend will be presenting. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you very much. This is the annual update to the short-term work program and to the capital improvement program. It also includes the FY 2014 Impact Fee Fund financial report. This is a requirement for the standards and procedures to maintain our local comprehensive planning, dealing with the Georgia Planning Act of 1989. This has been reviewed by the Department of Community Affairs and found consistent. Staff would recommend approval of the resolution before you this evening. If you have any questions.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Diamond.
Thank you. I have a question. I think since we've seen this, our ISO rating has gone to 2. Do we need to change that in here, or is it okay to leave it at
We can update it next year.
Okay. Thank you.
For the audience, do you want to give them a quick summary of what our short-term work program consists of and our capital improvement program consists of? If you could put that into a nutshell.
Of the 3 pages of proposed capital improvements, 90% of them are transportation. So we have a lot of good transportation projects. The top 3 of them are in construction. The rest of these are in design or in right-of-way acquisition. And the next 2 pages are other projects which
So
are...
these are anticipated projects that we need to
figure out funding
figure out
sources
the
for.
funding so that we can handle increased, as more development comes to Roswell, that we can
Have better
have the
roads.
transportation to accommodate that growth.
That is correct.
And in the impact fees, we charge those developers a share of this cost which they are imposing upon the citizens to accommodate their development.
That's correct.
What do we hope to raise in the next few years?
Millions.
Millions. Okay. Which would then be goes into a fund which is earmarked for these projects.
Correct.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Is this the same program that we reviewed at committee?
Yes.
So there haven't been any changes since we last saw it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve the short-term work program and the capital improvement elements for fiscal years 15 through 2020.
Motion for approval by Councilmember Wynn. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Orleans. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time we'll call upon liaison of the Transportation Department, Councilmember Nancy Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is approval of an amendment to Section 22.6.1 Speed Limits Appendix of the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances, and this would be the second reading, and Mr. Eisenbach is here to tell us the details.
Thank you, Councilmember Diamond. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, an awful lot of thanks go out to an awful lot of people for working many hard months to open our new school on State Route 9 on time today, including many of my staff members who were even there early this morning to make sure everything went well.
So how did it go?
It went well, but there were a lot of flashing lights. So we'll see as time goes on, Mr. Mayor, how behavior is modified to accommodate this new school zone on State Route 9. So what I have here overhead is the school, State Route 9. This is north. Holcomb Bridge is up on this end of your screen. The new school lives here. This shows the limits of the school zone. So
did we impose a 25-mile-an-hour limit to this morning?
Yes, sir, we did.
And what was the impact on traffic?
It was minimal.
Well, that's good to hear.
However, we had requested this school zone early this year, and we only received permission from GDOT on July 30th. So what we need is the signs are there and the markings are there. However, it is unenforceable by state law right now. And
let's not advertise.
We're looking for, we will hopefully not, but what we need to do is rectify that. And tonight,
I don't see the press tonight.
The second reading of the ordinance, we need an ordinance from the City Council, and we need the approval from GDOT. We have the approval from GDOT.
We need a reading, first reading.
Yes, sir.
Second reading.
The second reading, an ordinance of the Roswell City Council setting speed limits on certain streets. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, in the interest of health and public safety, wish to establish speed zones within the city based upon an engineering and traffic investigation. Now, therefore, to accomplish the foregoing, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following ordinance. Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Roswell, Georgia, is amended by deleting therefrom Article 22.6, speed limits, appendix, and substituting in lieu thereof a new Article 22.6 to read as set forth in the appendix attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Breathless anticipation of the approval from GDOT, I move to approve second reading.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Diamond. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time, we'll ask Kay Love to read the Administration and Finance Department calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is approval to amend Chapter 10, Licenses, Taxes, and Business Regulations of the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances to regulate where consumer fireworks can be sold, to provide for temporary retail structures and special use permits for fireworks. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Ms. Love. This is kind of our state calendar, right? These are all of our state mandated changes on this calendar. And we can thank our state legislature for allowing fireworks at 1 a.m. every night of the week.
Well, not quite 1 a.m., but midnight is
Midnight
where they're
every
at.
night of the week.
Right. House Bill 110 is what defined this new fireworks legislation for the state. And basically, between the hours of 10 a.m. and midnight, you can now use fireworks anywhere within the state. That is a state law now. It also addressed that on certain days, January 1, July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st, it's 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. So they can actually get a little bit later on those particular days. If they want to do it outside of those hours, they have to get a special event, special permit from the city. It's $100 for that permit. It also defines the sale of fireworks, if it's a permanent facility or a temporary facility. The city has those defined in the commercial mixed area, the commercial corridor, and the commercial heavy. If it's a temporary facility, there's a $500 permit, and that permit is good for 90 days.
And I understand we have no real discretion in this.
This brings our ordinance in with state law, no real discretion.
Do we have a motion to approve?
This is second reading.
Please read it.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 10, Licenses, Taxes, and Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell regarding fireworks, whereas the mayor and council now wish to update the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances regarding the sale of fireworks pursuant to state law and House Bill 110 adopted by the Georgia General Assembly. Now therefore, mayor and council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following amendment. The remainder of the ordinance is incorporated herein.
Do we have a motion to approve? Councilmember Orleans.
I just wanted, we had talked in committee about sending correspondence to our state legislators to make some amendments to this next time around. And just want to confirm those have gone out or are going out.
Haven't put anything together yet. If that's the recommendation of the council, we can do that. I haven't sent anything out
It
yet.
is the recommendation of the council, so
I will certainly do
staff
that.
will draft a letter
Apologies
for
for
my
that.
signature, I'll be glad to send it out.
I'll
Yeah,
do
there was
that.
one state legislator that was in the newspaper that's, I forget which committee he's over, and he was already concerned about these issues and was going to bring it up. So
I will,
committee,
certainly.
we authorized to send it to him and our other state legislators.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Orland, second by Councilmember Wynn. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Next item is approval to amend Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales of the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances to allow for certain distances from churches and schools for grocery stores. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Ms. Love. This is another ordinance amendment that we need to do in regards to House Bill 85, where it defined the distances to be able to sell alcoholic beverages with schools and churches. What House Bill 85 does basically is exempts a grocery store. So we have to put in the definition of a grocery store, which is at least 10,000 square feet, and at least 85% of the square feet of the business has to be for food or non-alcoholic beverages. And if it is considered a grocery store, it's on properly zoned property, then it is exempt from the distances for the schools. We have to make our ordinance match the state law. And it's a second reading also.
Mr. Hulls, if you'd read the ordinance.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell. Whereas the mayor and council now wish to update the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances regarding the sale of alcoholic beverages, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following amendment. And Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, Georgia, is hereby amended by deleting Section 3.4.2, distance from churches, schools, etc., by deleting subsection A in its entirety and replacing said subsection with the material incorporated or in the ordinance and incorporated herein by reference.
Do we have a motion to approve the second reading?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Wynn for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. Question, does this apply to daycares as well? How does a daycare fit within the definition of a school?
That would be a Bob question.
Generally, daycares do not. Unless they have kindergarten, then they're a school.
So do we right now have an alcohol restriction from a daycare?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I see a shake of the head by our Director of Community Development. So there's not. So this wouldn't apply anyway?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Next item is approval to amend Article 3, alcoholic beverages of the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances regarding brew pubs, and approval of a text amendment to Article 9 of the Unified Development Code dealing with manufacturing of alcoholic beverages. Mr. Fisher.
And if you remember, this is in regards to Senate Bill 63, which created microbreweries and brew pubs and the ability to be able to do tours and tastings at these facilities. We have not allowed that in the past. There hasn't been legislation to allow that. So basically the way we handled these facilities was like a manufacturer. We put them in a manufacturing area because they could not taste or pour within their premises. Now they can. So to do that, we had to have a definition of the microbrewery or the brew pub. We have put that in at 15,000 square feet, and 75% of their product has to be sold off premises. There may need to be a little correction on that because they cannot sell on premises. They can do souvenirs and they can do tastings. So there may have been some questions raised in regard to the 75%. But what this amendment will do, regardless of that definition, will give the City of Roswell a category, a license to be able to license the microbreweries and brew pubs and breweries depending on their size, if we can have the definition that would be appropriate. And this is a second reading.
Mr. Halsey, if you'd read the ordinance.
Ordinance to amend Chapter 3, alcoholic beverages, Article 3.2, licensing of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, and amending the Unified Development Code, UDC, dealing with the use of manufacturing of alcoholic beverages to be allowed in certain UDC districts. Whereas state law provides the governing authority of each municipal corporation shall have legislative power to adopt clearly reasonable ordinances, resolutions, and regulations relating to its property affairs and local government for which no provision has been made by general law. Whereas the mayor and council now wish to update the City of Roswell Code of Ordinances regarding the location to allow for the use of manufacturing of alcoholic beverages, Chapter 3, corridors and nodes, Chapter 4, downtown, and Chapter 5, employment district of the Unified Development Code. And now, therefore, the mayor and council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following amendment, and the remainder of the ordinance is incorporated herein by reference.
Mr. Mayor, I need to make a correction. I think I misstated. I believe I said 15,000 square feet, and I did. I just thought that I meant to say 15,000 barrels and 75% sold. So I thought after I said that, I said the wrong thing.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of our interested citizens pointed out that the language that we use in the UDC and in this proposal for 75% or more of its beer sold off-site actually conflicts some with the new state law, in that it's really more about you can sell tours, you can't actually sell beer. So the recommendation, I think, after talking with legal, was to delete that from 961F1, where it says microbrewery defined, or wherever else it appears. Actually, it's in a couple places. That we delete 75% or more of its beer sold off-site, and we'd also need to correct it in the UDC. I'm not sure that we can do that here, but Mr. Halsey could weigh in on that, maybe.
Yes, legal, we were approached today about that. We have no problem in removing from section 3.2.5D the definition of microbrewery means a manufacturer of malt beverages that produces fewer than 15,000 barrels per year, period. And that would delete with 75% or more of its beer sold off-site. And then a similar change we recommend for 9.6.1F, and again, that's the definition of microbrewery, to delete the phrase 75% or more of its beer sold off-site. This brings us in compliance with state law and removes an unintended consequence that was pointed out by Mr. Curling, that this would allow a new microbrewery to be able to conduct tours and have tastings and to sell as much beer. And as he stated, you can't create a market unless you can sell your beer on site in order to get to the point where you can sell that much off site. My understanding is that that was a definition the industry used, but not the state, and so hence the conflict. But legally, there's no problem in taking it out.
Any other questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. In the interest of consistency, we have a definition under 9.6.1B for brewery, and then we have another definition for microbrewery, but they're different. And the brewery is a facility involved in the creation of malt beverages, but the microbrewery says a manufacturer of malt beverages. And I think the definition for a brewery is probably more accurate in that a microbrewery is a facility. It's not actually a manufacturer, I would think. So to make the two definitions more consistent, I would suggest we use the language from brewery under microbrewery, except for it says, where under brewery it says a facility involved in the creation of malt beverages that produces 15,000 barrels or more, or the equivalent per year of malt beverages. A microbrewery would then be a facility involved in the creation of malt beverages that produces less than 15,000 barrels or the equivalent per year of malt beverages. So that way we're using essentially the same definition. That would be my suggestion.
Mr. Halsey, in your reply?
I see no problem in that.
Any other questions? Or does someone wish to venture a motion? Councilmember Diamond.
Move to approve second reading with the change to 3.2.5D in the sentence at 15,000 barrels per year, deleting the rest. And under 9.6.1, F1, defined a facility involved in the creation of malt beverages that produces fewer than 15,000 barrels per year, period.
We have a motion by Councilmember Diamond. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I still think we have an inconsistency, unintentional, in between 3.2.5D and 9.6.1F. We actually use different definitions.
Okay.
Mr. Halsey.
I think I know what the problem is.
He's correct. We can just correct D to read the same as 9.6.1F1 as stated by Councilwoman Diamond.
Councilwoman Diamond, do you wish to amend your motion?
That works for me.
All right. Councilmember Wynn, was that your second?
That's fine with me. That's fine with me.
All right. Does the council understand what they're voting on? We have a motion and a second with the amendments discussed and confirmed by Mr. Halsey. Mr. DiPolito.
I guess I'm still confused on the definition. Are we calling it a facility or are we calling it a manufacturer? Okay, so you went to the facility, so we're changing.
The same as we changed the other.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to approve the second reading with the proposed amendments? That is unanimous.
Next item is approval of the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a contract with Turner Construction to provide construction management at-risk services for Fire Station Number 4 in the amount not to exceed $351,321. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have before you tonight is a request to approve a contract with Turner Construction The city issued an RFP for construction management at risk services for Fire Station 4. We received 7 proposals. We shortlisted 3 for oral presentations. That was Hogan, Raylin, as well as Turner Construction. The committee made up of Fire Department, Finance, and Transportation recommended Turner based on their presentation as well as their technical proposal. Their contract consists of 2 parts or 3 parts. One is pre-phase construction cost, construction phase fixed cost, as well as construction variable cost based on the percentage of the total construction. That's how we got to the $300,500 number.
Can you explain to me the duties of the construction manager?
Yes, sir. During the pre-phase construction, the construction manager will work with the architect in the city to ensure that the building is designed within the budget that we've established of $3 million for the project. After we take out the fees and various items that we have to buy for the project. During construction phase services, they will provide construction management oversight, ensuring that subs and contractors are on site performing the work.
There'll be the general contractor, they'll be managing the general contractor.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Now, what does at risk mean?
At risk means that they will give us a guaranteed price at 90%, and they are at risk for what's above that, unless we so choose to give them an award for.
So if it runs over budget, the construction manager is on the hook?
Yes, there will be a contingency in the budget for those things, but yes, sir.
The council have any questions? Councilmember Napolito.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, is there an incentive for the construction manager to lower the price since they're on a percentage basis? Is there a maximum number that they can receive for a fee?
No, sir. There is a maximum number that they will receive for the fixed cost. They will be the various components of the project itself will be bid, such as the MEP or the mechanical, the plumbing. They will actually break those items into various bid components and bid those and open those during the process. So it will be market driven, not necessarily driven by them to say, here's my price of $3 million.
So any value engineering would occur, I guess, during pre-construction?
That's correct, yes, sir. During pre-construction, we have it set up for the construction manager at risk to provide us pricing at 4 separate time frames: schematic design, design development, and then twice during construction design, to ensure that the project we are building we are designing stays within the allotted budget, so that we know that when we get to that 90% final bid, we are not going to be over budget. It is part of their responsibility as a professional consultant to keep us within that budget. Mm-hmm. It's basically a 3-pronged approach. They work hand in hand with the city as well as the architect. They have the professional staffs and the experience for pricing, which we as a city do not have, and as well as the architect. So it really provides a better process for ensuring that we are better prepared for our final price.
And I agree with you. I think Turner Construction is an excellent firm, and they certainly are qualified. I guess it's always nice to have an incentive built in, so they have a monetary incentive to get the cost down as low as possible. And I guess I want to make sure that if we don't have an incentive for them to bring the price in lower, that there's also a cap to their fee, so that if they do go above budget, they don't benefit from it going beyond our budget.
We actually do have a free zone within our contract as we put the RFP out. So if they give us a maximum price of $2,500,000, so then the free zone between $2,500,000 and $2,650,000, they earn no percentage on. So there is a disincentive for them to undervalue, if you will, and then try to change order us at the end of the project.
But they are the construction managers, so they wouldn't necessarily provide a change order.
They are the project manager or construction manager, so they would be asking for the change order should a sub need a change order. It would flow through them. They are the general contractor of the project.
So what's their incentive to keep costs down?
One is it will be within their contract that we have an X amount. Our budget is $3 million. That's the first and foremost that they are bound by that number, if you will. Our total budget is $3.8 million. It'll be in there minus the fees and items that we purchase as a city or that we've already committed for.
Let me interrupt you for a second. So
Yes.
when you were saying that it's essentially a guaranteed maximum, I guess, at 90% drawings, is that?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's really the contractor that's being bound to that, not necessarily the construction manager?
The construction manager is being bound to that.
So if the construction costs are higher, that's the construction manager's responsibility?
That's correct. So at 90%, we get our guaranteed maximum price. We'll bring that to mayor and council for acceptance. Within that guaranteed maximum price, there will be a contingency amount that the city controls. That if things arise or comes up during construction that we need to make adjustments for, we can make those adjustments within the contingency. However, their risk exists for an amount above that contract.
Okay. And since the construction manager is also the general contractor, it's the same company is essentially at risk for that.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
I got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Councilmember Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the Councilmember Wynn.
I just have one question. When's groundbreaking on this?
We have it anticipated in about January.
No. That's been 2015. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. December 31st.
No, after January. I don't want him to be liaison. We need a new liaison before we break ground.
No, it will be done before I leave, correct, Mayor Wood?
You want to do an over-under on that one? We can do an over-under.
It's still quicker than two predecessors.
Let's don't get into that now.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll turn to our city attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution to grant easements for telecommunications facilities. I'll just read the applicable portions of this. Whereas the Federal Telecommunication Act of 1996 limits the authority local governments have over the provision of personal wireless service providers, whereas the city wishes to support the Telecommunications Act while limiting the unfettered placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless facilities throughout the city by encouraging existing telecommunication facilities to maximize co-locations. Whereas towers currently exist at those locations shown in Exhibit A and shown on Exhibit B attached here to incorporated herein. Whereas the mayor and council have determined that it is in the public good to grant an easement for the wireless telecommunication facilities to remain at such locations, provided that they be used only for such purposes. Whereas the mayor and council wish to ensure that should the property not be used for telecommunication facilities, that said easement shall cease and be used for no other purposes. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and council, in order to protect the public health and to preserve the safety of the public, do hereby grant conditional easements to Crown Castle for the existing telecommunications facilities described herein, and authorize the mayor and city administrator with the city attorney to execute such documents as are required and necessary to grant such easements for payment in the amount of $2,500,000. What this means is that the city will get, these are existing leases, they're being converted to permanent easements at the request of the lessee for their own business purposes, and we get the present value of that money, and that has been negotiated, and these easements will cease if they ever are not used for the purposes described in the resolution.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Napolito.
Thank you. Mr. Halsey, I want to confirm that if the lessee would like to make changes to these towers, that they're required to come back to the mayor and council for approval?
Yes, sir, they would have to comply with all requirements for co-location, and none of that would change anything in our ordinance they have to abide by.
Okay, so they would, even though they have a permanent easement, they would have to comply with our existing ordinance?
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilman Orleans for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We have a recommendation for closure. Discuss personnel, litigation, and real estate. Do we have a motion for closure? Motion by Councilman Orleans, second by Councilmember Wynn. All in favor, raise their hands. Councilmember Napolito, that is unanimous. We're adjourned.
I know, somebody stopped the conveyor belt down there. I don't know who it was.